All right, so I'm back with another film study slash breakdown. There will be some, I'm going to talk about some stats and things of that nature. Today's topic is who should the New Orleans Saints start? Should it be Jameis Winston or should it be Taysom Hill? Now, it seems like by far and away, most people feel as though Jameis Winston should be the guy. There's logic there. I want to give both sides of the argument, though, because I do think it's a discussion. I mean, for one thing, let's keep in mind that literally Sean Payton had this exact decision last year and gave the starts to Taysom Hill. So it's not like a given, I don't think, that Jameis Winston will be the starter. One interesting stat you could point to if you are a Taysom Hill guy is the fact that, so in 2019, Winston with Bruce Arians, he had a career high in points per drive. He had, his team, his offense had a career high since with him as a quarterback with 2.14 points per drive, which is, solid. That was top 10 in the league, and that was his best. But in the small sample size Taysom Hill had in 4 games last year, it was 100 points in 44 drives. That's 2.27 points per drive, so higher than Winston's 2.14. It's not a world of difference, but it's a slight upgrade. So you could make the argument that that alone means that maybe Taysom Hill should be the guy. Now, one thing I have to put an asterisk on is just that I do think the Saints offense last year was just better than the 2019 Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense as a whole. It's hard to really separate the two combined, but the Saints offense last year had 2.73 points per drive in total, so it did actually go down from when Breeze was the starter. However, let's just get into some film and talk about just the upside to Taysom Hill. So we'll start off with a play like this. So this play is a great example of kind of my main thing about Taysom Hill and why I think he could fit this offense really well, and in fact why he has fit this offense really well. They went 3-1 with him as a starter in the 4 games he played, because it's not a lot of pushing the ball down the field. I mean, when Drew Brees' arm did fall off, we saw that Sean Payton had no problem calling plays for Brees, and they were still able to have a ton of success. Like I said, they had a top 5 offense last year in terms of points per drive, and a play like this is a great example of just something small. It's zone coverage, and they're going to kind of go underneath it. And watch, as you see, I mean, it's a quick pass to Michael Thomas, and they're able to pick up a good amount of yards that way. It's a good play from Taysom Hill, that quick release and getting the ball there in a hurry. He does have a pretty big arm, and he's able to do that pretty well. Of course, the flip side is something like this, where I'm going to have to pause it and play it a couple times just to avoid copyright, but you see what's going to happen. Hill takes the snap. The first read he wants to throw to isn't really open, so what he's going to do is he's simply just going to look around and try to find some other stuff. He rolls outside the pocket, and at this point, he's going to pick up some yards, and if he just picked up some yards, that would be fine, but watch how he's able to pick up a ton of yards and get a huge gain on what was essentially a broken play. I want to talk about Winston's deep ball for a second now, because I think that's one of the big things that people sort of talk about when it comes to Jameis Winston, and the difference between Winston and Hill is, well, Winston can push the ball down the field, and there's some truth to that, but the numbers are actually pretty interesting. I mean, I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, as you can see with my t-shirt, so clearly I've watched a lot of Jameis Winston, and he absolutely would miss a good amount of deep balls, specifically the sideline go route throws against single safety deep coverage. That's really where he would struggle. You look at his numbers on passes above 20 yards, his passer rating is just 90.12, which sounds solid. It sounds fine, but it's actually pretty much on the low side. It's actually highly on the low side. Not highly, but I would say that you probably want someone with a passer rating of over 100 when you're going down the field over 20 yards. And the reason for that is because passer rating down the field naturally goes up. The further you throw it, the higher chance of a passer rating going up would be. So I phrased that poorly. The higher chance your passer rating would go up. So 90 is actually kind of on the low end, and completion percentage was abysmal. It was 34.9% over 20 yards down the field. Again, that's a number that goes down when you throw it down the field, but doesn't go down that much. So his ability to push the ball down the field, I do think is a bit overhyped, but there's one particular deeper throw that Winston really actually does excel at. It's something like this. It's going to be best shown in this game where he really tore apart this Detroit Lions team. For a second, I was wondering if he was going to break the single game yards record, because he was just going going through and through. But what you're going to see happen here is that it's going to be a deep route. And also, funny enough, the graphic shown on this play says that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have the most points per game through 13 games in team history. Those numbers are a bit inflated because they had a lot of drives that season because Winston threw a lot of interceptions that season, so that is part of it. But nevertheless, this deep route is basically just watch what happens. While this play is going to get pretty open, Winston just has a beautifully deep throw, and it's that stuff. The stuff over the middle deep, he actually really excels at. The sideline stuff, not so much, but over the middle, he really excels. And so that's a big thing in his favor, I think. You know, you look at his best games, they largely came against teams that primarily played one coverage. It was like, you know, the Detroit Lions that game were basically just playing cover 3 zone, and Winston had no problem just completely dicing them up. And that's kind of how Winston really would thrive, is when he played a team that had a base coverage. This is why he always seemed to kill the Atlanta Falcons, is Dan Quinn would run his cover 3 zone, and Winston was able to dice that up. And when you have a team that has Alvin Kamara, you kind of are forcing opposing defenses to play a lot of zone coverage, which is where Winston can thrive when he knows what's going on. One very interesting stat to me was his passer rating without a play action last year was just 76.0. But with play action, it was 124.1. The play action completely turned him into a different quarterback, and he was elite under play action, and he was bad when there was no play action. That's legitimately what the numbers say. And, I mean, to some degree, every quarterback plays better with play action. So, of course, it's going to go up to some degree. But the fact that it's going up that many, you know, nearly 50 points, that's an insane jump. And to me, that says Jameis Winston should probably be the starter. Because when he knows what to do and he's not going to make a dumb decision, he's going to be fine. Now, he might still make a mistake. He might still, you know, listen, he will miss a throw. He might throw one to the other team. That'll still happen. That's not going to not happen, but it'll happen a lot less. And when you have a coach that kind of can fit his strengths, which I think Peyton could probably do a lot better than Bruce Arians could, even though Arians is obviously, I mean, listen, he won a Super Bowl. He's not Sean Payton, but he's solid. But I do think Sean Payton is just a next level up, and I think that Peyton knows what he's doing. So for me, where I'm sitting, it seems like Winston probably should be the guy, although I don't think Hill is a horrible option. And another factor in all of this is if you go with Winston, you get Taysom Hill as a weapon, right? So I don't think that would really make the decision too much. If you think Hill's the better quarterback, well, I'd rather have the better quarterback than the better tight end out there, you know? So I'd stick with Hill. One other factor is I've heard some people bring up the fact that, well, Michael Thomas is out, so maybe you do go with Hill now. I actually disagree. I think for the exact opposite reason. I think that you should, since Michael Thomas is out, I would rather stick with Jameis Winston as the guy because Winston has proven he can have success even when there's not a lot of great receiving talent around him. Because late in 2019, or I believe it was 2018 perhaps, 2019 was the year where Jameis Winston, both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin got injured. And so he was with Brashad Perriman as his number one receiver, and he was still able to light things up. So he was still able to do really well there. So I don't really think that Winston needs an elite receiver the way I think Taysom Hill might. You know, one of the plays I showed you of Hill had Michael Thomas there. So I actually disagree. I think for the exact opposite reason, I would want Jameis Winston as the guy. So again, they're both solid quarterbacks. Neither one of them is a top 10 quarterback, but I think I'd go with Jameis Winston. That's my opinion. What do you guys think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.